Today I'm shooting from Whitefish, Montana, and I just finished an exhausting spin class, but I finished it with my daughter. Today I'm talking about the painted picture. The painted picture to me is one of the most important things that you do when you're going through divorce, and that is starting to create the picture of what your future is going to look like. And for me, looking back 15 years ago and plus, my painted picture was to be able to spend fun time with my children. And today that's exactly what I'm doing. I get to get up in the morning in a beautiful area and go to a spin class and work out and be healthy and fit and happy. So today we're going to talk about how to do that. As promised, today we're going to talk about creating your painted picture. So what is a painted picture? It's basically that. It's a picture that's painted with your future wish list. So you can take a piece of paper or a canvas, blank like this, and use a paintbrush. You can take pictures, you can use the computer, or you can use your writing. It's best to actually use some visuals and some writing when you're creating your painted picture. So in the world of business, when you're doing a marketing plan, when you're doing your business plan, in the world of construction, when you're building a home and you've got a model of what it's going to look like, those are essentially painted pictures. They're creating an image, an idea, a very clear footprint of what you want something to look like when it's done or in the process of being done. So like everything else, I like to have a simple equation so I can wrap my mind around how I'm going to do this. So when it comes to the painted picture, the first thing that you've got to be able to do is we've got to embrace the past. You don't want on our picture a whole bunch of negative thoughts about the past. We want it to be basically a beautiful rendition of what we want our future to look like. But embracing the past is much easier said than done, particularly when you're going through a difficult time and you may still have a lot of emotions. You may be in the middle of it, you may be just out of it, or you may be heading into it. So regardless, you're going to have a lot of emotions and very mixed emotions. But there's one thing that we need to know. Think of it like roadblocks in your life. Think of it like obstacles. Some people hit an obstacle and they just can't figure out how to go over it. Some people hit an obstacle and they go over it. They figure out how to go over it. And those people are the ones who are actually learning the lessons, embracing the past. They're taking and they're finding ways to get over obstacles. When they hit that obstacle again, guess what? They're going to get over it in a much easier way. And really, that's what embracing the past is about. It's about taking our lessons in the past, because we all have our lessons, and that's probably why we even exist, is to learn. So take the lessons from the past, take all the learnings from that, and embrace them. Know that they are there to make you a better person on a go-forward basis. The past doesn't have to equal the future, and we've talked about that a lot. The next part of the equation is you gotta have a clean slate. In other words, you can't create a future for yourself if there's a whole lot of junk in the past. Just like if you move into a new house, you bought a new house, if you arrived and there was all this old furniture there, or you rented new office space and you arrived and it was the previous office's furniture and their files and their equipment, you wouldn't know where to start. Well, it's exactly the same in our personal lives. We just, for some reason, don't seem to get that. We don't give the attention to our personal lives and our planning that we do everything else in our lives. And this is a chance for you to do that. But really, this is about having a clean slate. When you show up and you're starting to think about what the future looks like, you've got to clean the slate. I get that's easier than done, because as you're thinking about the future, you've got all these memories from the past coming in, and how am I going to do this? Am I going to have enough money? Well, how are the kids going to be? How's the family? How's the friend? Just try and put all that out of your mind and pretend like you just showed up on earth today and the world's your oyster and you get to create the future however you want it. Just start from that place. That's the place where you can create your best future self. The third part of the equation is you have to become future focused. So we've talked about cleaning the slate and embracing the lessons from the past, but you've got to focus on the future. And the only way you can do that is by starting to dream and starting to architect what the future is going to look like. So don't worry so much about the house. In fact, right now, put the house out, because as soon as you go there, you're going to get really stressed and you're not going to figure out, you're going to say, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough freedom, I've got too many responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. Forget that. Just get into future space. One of the things when we start a new business, we start a new sport, whatever it is we're starting that's not too emotionally attached to us, we're basically in the future space because we don't have a lot of baggage behind it. But what we do in our personal lives is we bring our belief system and our values from the past and all the learnings and the hardship, and we almost muddy our future with the past. So there's an opportunity to just be focused on the future. So when you find yourself fantasizing in a negative way about the past, not in a way where you're bracing and really analyzing the lessons, but a negative way, then that is the time to stop and just have a disciplined conversation with yourself about the future. Everybody around you will see the transition in you when you start to become future focused. I have dealt with so many people who go into victim mode. We'll talk about that in a second, but really this is a chance to go and become future focused. The next part of the equation is the power of intention. I love that. Okay, I agree. It sounds a little bit cliche, and because we hear it all over the place in a lot of different movements and books, but just hear me out. So I'm going to give you a great example. My husband and I, as you know, Dan, we are avid outdoors people. And one of the things that we love to do is go cat skiing. So one of our trips not that long ago, we were going up a cat, and we ended up in an area that was very, very dense with trees. Lots of heavy snow, so some pretty dangerous areas that you could get caught into. And we were coming down, and the guide said, be really careful of the trees, avoid the trees. So I get out of the cat and I've got my skis on and I'm going down, and all I'm thinking is, okay, avoid the trees, avoid the trees, avoid the trees. It was like a record, avoid the trees, avoid the trees. And guess what? I basically ran into like 4 or 5 trees on the way down. It was disastrous. By the time I got to the bottom, I was completely deflated. So we got in the cat, went back up the hill again. And then this time the guide was saying, okay, avoid the trees, but what I want you to focus on is the space between the trees. Wow. Now, okay, I think I can do that. So got out of the cat, put our skis back on, skiing down, and all of a sudden, I get to the bottom, and it was one of the most glorious experiences, going through powder. It was amazing. And I get to the bottom, and I hadn't even gone near a tree. And some of them were really close. So what was that? That was the power of intention. We attract exactly what we focus on. If we're thinking about bad things, that's what we're going to get. If we're thinking about good things, that is what we're going to get. Even if we think about, twist it around and say, I am not going to hit the trees, you will still hit the trees because you're focused on the trees. Our minds and our brains, there's been lots of studies around this, that actually doesn't understand when we're thinking about the difference between positive and negative. Our bodies will just react and focus on that thing or event. So in this case, it's not okay to say, I'm going to avoid the trees. I have to focus on something completely different than the trees. So in other words, when you're going through a divorce, rather than saying, I'm going to avoid a big fight, one of the things you could say is, I'm going to go through this in a really gracious, respectful, smart way. Very, very different when it comes to the power of intention. So in creating your painted picture, like I said, a blank slate, whether it's a slate of piece of paper on a computer, whether it's an actual canvas, doesn't matter. It's about putting pen to paper or colors to paper, however you choose to do that, is about setting the intention about what you want. So this is a chance to dream and fantasize. The other thing I will tell you is some people can do this quite easily because they're visual, and other people really struggle for how this is going to work. And what I'm going to suggest to you is just go with it and be dedicated and committed to getting some future vision down on paper and commit to it. So the other thing we need to do in our equation is we have to minus regrets and misplaced guilt. Do you know that guilt is actually resentment? So things that we resent, we can feel guilty about. I'm going to leave that with you because that's kind of a bit of a exploration that you can go down to really think about when you're feeling guilty about things. It's actually misplaced resentment. But really, it's really important if we're filled with worry and concern and we're focused on that, that's what we're going to attract. Worrying is really praying for it to happen. That's scary because especially as a mom, I can't help but worry sometimes, but I really try and discipline myself to not worry because I know I'm going to actually potentially create that. Or maybe not create it, but just waste a whole lot of time. So when it comes to marriage and relationships and divorce and separation, there's a heck of a lot of those emotions going on. In order to move forward, even if it's in our mind, so I'm not suggesting that you're there in reality, I'm not suggesting that you're there emotionally, but you've got to get there first in your mind and your intention. And you've got to remove the regrets and the guilt from the past. Those are some of the heaviest feelings. Those belong in the past. They do not belong in your painted picture. So that is the equation for the painted picture. That is the equation to get you a vision board of where you want to be. I encourage you to just start. I don't care what it is. Put one word on a piece of paper today. Find one picture that represents where you want to be. You will start stepping into the future today. So embrace the journey. Please have fun with this. This is a lot of fun. And if you can, and if you own a business, do it in your business. All my businesses that I've ever created have a painted picture, of a 5-year painted picture. And we haven't always accomplished everything we've set out to, but we've accomplished a lot of it. And I know a lot of that was because the power of intention and the commitment to going in that direction. And the other thing I just want to say in summary is forget about the how. That's where we get all caught up. Put the how aside. Just trust that what you put out there is going to come back. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time.